again, friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name's Amy, and I'm glad you decided to join me for chapter 20 on this Monday morning. I hope you all stick around for the rest of the week while we do another reading of the book that I wrote to you. As always, if you are interested in picking this book up, I will leave all the fun details about where to buy it at the end of the video, so stick around. And let's just jump right back into this adventure. Chapter 20. Leon awoke fresh from the tiring night ordeal. He stretched his arms. They were still a bit sore, but nothing he couldn't handle. He got dressed and made the bed. The smell of muffins, fresh baked bread, and mashed oats filled the air. He entered the kitchen, and Starlin was busy moving about setting the table for breakfast. He was about to inquire where his friend was when Starlin smiled and pointed to the door as an answer to his question. Leon laced up his boots and exited the house. Castilia was out in the stall with the horses. The smell of fresh straw, hay, and oats filled Leon's nose. A pile of dirty manure was to one side. She, or Starlin, must have mucked up the stalls. She was stroking them and conversing with them. Leon marveled at this. The animals nickered happily and whinnied as if they could understand her. Sure, he chatted with his horse when he brushed it or after a long day's ride, but it appeared that the legend seemed to have a deeper connection to them. The legend was dressed in the usual greenish-brown legend garb she wore for the journey. She lowered her voice as he came close. They didn't speak, and a calm stillness settled between them. And Leon brought his hand up and stroked both horses on the forehead. The sound of footsteps broke up the calmness. "Breakfast is ready. Then it's time to get the orb from the fireplace," Starlin said. Leon had a longing in his eyes that he wanted to linger, but he knew his task at hand was more important than his own agenda. The three entered the house, and the breakfast smells were intoxicating. The three sat at the table and ate as much food as they wanted. Once they could eat no more and the dishes and food were put away, Leon walked into the living room that had the fireplace. Leon held out his hand like he had done the previous day when he was trying to locate the orb. The intense heat grew, and flame rose higher without warning. One of the flames shot out straight at Leon with a loud whooshing sound. The hunter of the orbs fell on his back with a soft thud. On his chest lay a beautiful, fiery red orb. It was the size of an apple. Leon supported himself up by his hands. Starlin nodded silently in satisfaction. Leon gathered up the orb in the container to transport the orbs he collected. 2 down, a few more to go, he thought. He thought to himself. Starlin poured himself and his guests some tea, although in Leon's case he offered him some cold tea. After they had taken a few sips in silence, Starlin spoke his mind. "I fear that you should not tarry for more than a day. It will not be long before Viperlin realizes the orb is gone and that I put a spell over the empty eye socket." His guests knew he spoke the truth. "I won't send you away without refreshing your supplies before you leave. I've put some things you might need in your packs and some supplies on your horse's tack." Leon finished the last gulp of his tea before he spoke. "If you don't mind, Castilia, I would like to visit a friend of mine that I mentioned in the forest. Castilia looked at Starling for any signs that she should object, but saw none. Very well, you go. I want to stay here and look over the maps that Ripplin gave us. Don't worry, I'll find you when it's time to leave. Leon smiled at her and gave her a fast nod. He soon mounted his horse and trotted away, with Little Boy following close behind. Castilia now turned to Starling. I want you to show me where the safest route in the Highlands is. I don't know when we'll go, but I'd rather have some idea when we get there. Starland agreed. The two sat at the table and pored over and discussed the different scenery and what they would see, and the trails and traveling roads were going to be the best way to ride. Maps and scrolls covered the table. They studied the maps, scrolls, and books. The minutes began to turn into hours. Leon trotted along and tried to remember where his friend lived. He passed by many people going about their daily lives. The noise of productive people engaging in their trade filled his ears. He rounded a few hills, and there was the house he remembered. As Leon got close, he dismounted and knocked on the door. A young boy of the age of 9 or 12 answered, "Yes, sir. How we may help you?" Leon smiled a friendly smile at the boy. "Yes, you may help me. I was wondering if your father, Palin, is at home, and if so, tell him a hunter is here to see him." The young boy found this an odd request, but showed him inside and shut the door. The parlor was not elaborate, but more functional. It appeared like no lady lived here. Not to say that Leon considered housework just woman's work, but the house looked like it hadn't seen woman's touch in a while. The boy scurried outside. He quickly returned with his father. A grin spread across the father's face when he saw his guest waiting. "Why, bless the elements, it is you, Leon," he said in a deep voice. The two childhood friends shook hands and hugged each other in a brotherly fashion. The father now turned his attention to the boy. "Son, this is an old friend of mine I have often talked about," Palin explained. The son looked up at Leon with delight in his eyes. "All right now, run along and finish your chores properly and promptly, as I've taught you." The boy looked disappointed, but nodded his head and headed out the door. Once the door was closed, and the sound of young feet couldn't be heard, Leon took a seat on the couch that his friend signaled. "You never told me you had a child. Where is Abigail?" Palin grew quiet. He swallowed hard and spoke with a shaky voice that wasn't like him. "Oh, Leon, it has been many years since we've seen each other. I wanted to tell you. I did. But she fell ill and died." Leon was taken aback. Abigail and Palin were as healthy as they come. Of course, illness wasn't uncommon, but he never thought such a thing would befall his friend's wife. He was deeply saddened by this grave news. He came over and sat next to his friend and put a comforting hand on his friend's shoulder. Palin sniffed and brushed away tears that fell down his cheek. Leon pulled his hand away to give Palin time to wipe the tears away and recover his composure. Palin shook his head as if he felt foolish for weeping. He coughed and spoke. "Now, it is in the past. But now, my friend, tell me, what brings you to these parts? You here to bring a hunting party back?" Now it was Leon who shook his head. "Nay, I'm traveling." Palin searched Leon's face briefly before repeating his friend's word. Traveling? What kind of traveling? Leon had thought up an answer ahead of time for this situation. He replied, My mother was from here, and I haven't had a hunting party from here in a while. I thought I'd revisit to see you, of course. Have Palin seemed satisfied with this answer and bobbed his head in an understanding way. Palin put his hands on the side of his wide leather belt. Have you heard about the rumors about there be legends beginning to show up again? Palin asked. Leon shrugged. In the time he'd been with Castilia, he knew how dangerous talking about legends, and let alone traveling with legends, could be. Spilling the beans to his friend was out of the question, so he had to play it off as just rumors. You know how folks are. They see someone from a different territory, and if they look slightly out of place, they assume they are legends. I suppose, though, that if they are really returning, it certainly wouldn't be the worst thing that could happen. Again, Palin agreed with his friend. Now Leon's host stood up and simultaneously saying, I hope you can join us for supper. Leon got up as well. I don't see why not, as long as I don't stay too late. If it's not a problem, I am traveling with a female companion. Palin chuckled heartily at this. Oh, female companion. Does your mother know about this? Leon smirked at him and gave him a quick jab in the shoulder. Not that kind of a companion, you rake. She's a jack of all trades, you might say. Palin winked at his friend and commented, if you say she's a jack of all trades, I believe you. I've missed the banter between us. He paused and continued, Being both mother and father to a child is more challenging than anything I've done before. Palin now headed for the kitchen. Follow me while I prepare for an early supper, and I won't be keeping you. You can tell me more, and if I'm not keeping you, you can tell me more about your comings and goings. Eh? Leon trusted Palin, but for his own good, he didn't mention anything about the orbs and of him being named Hunter of the Orbs. What Palin didn't know wouldn't hurt him. The two men talked for a long time. Soon the son came back inside the house. The son's face and hands were dirty from Leon Guest weeding the garden. Palin, without taking his eyes off supper, instructed his boy to go wash up and set the table for 4. Leon could tell the boy was disappointed and stepped in. Hey, my hands haven't seen soap in a while. Why don't you show me and we both can clean up. Leon bent down so he was eye level with the boy. Leon winked at him and said in a loud whisper, Besides, I will tell you all the fun stories your dad at your age I will tell you all the fun stories of your dad at your age that he doesn't want you to know about. In response, the boy let out a happy squeal of delight and practically dragged Leon with him. Traitor! Leon could hear Palin shout playfully back at him. Shortly after, Leon, with now clean hands and face, along with his young host, re-entered the house. The smell of roasted pork, cornbread, a wedge of cheese, and fresh spinach drifted in the air. Leon found out that the boy's name was Blaine. The son resembled his father. Leon didn't know Abigail extremely well, so it was hard for him to see the qualities of his mother. While Palin was adding the final touches to supper, Leon showed Little Boy to Blaine. A knock soon after came from the door. Leon opened it and smiled. Castilia stood there. Just in time for an early supper. I hope you're hungry. Leon hungry. Leon introduced Castilia to his friend. Blaine, not knowing they were just friends and companions, asked in a polite voice, Will you and your father be spending the evening with us? Castilia almost choked on her drink in her mouth that she had been given. Leon laughed at the surprised expression on her face. Oh, you dear boy, no. Castilia and I aren't married, just traveling companions and friends. Oh, sorry, Blaine replied in a shy, embarrassed way. Castilia now offered him an encouraging smile. Don't worry, Blaine. Someday, some girl will be waiting to know if you are married. She winked at him. Blaine gave her a small smile back. Castilia then had a question for Blaine's father. What is your occupation, Palin? Leon has not told me during our time on the road. Now they all took their seats and partook in the food provided. Castilia's question was left unanswered, and the conversation went in many different directions because Blaine wanted to speak and did about many things. The legend had an odd feeling that perhaps Palin wasn't as great as Leon thought he was. Blaine understood what his dad meant and grumbled about not hearing the good stories, but did what he was told. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped some. Sorry. I'm sorry. After the meal was over and being cleaned up, being cleaned up by all, Palin spoke. Blaine, you go to your room and fold your clothes I put on the bed. Blaine understood what his dad meant and grumbled about not hearing good stories, but did what he was told. Once the door was shut, Palin spoke seriously. To answer your question about my occupation, Castilia, I used to be the second in command to the captain of the guard of Nero a long time ago until 3 legends escaped, and I got an honorable discharge. Castilia dropped the plate, and it crashed to the floor. She looked at him hard in the eye. You were in the prince's army? She said, making her emphasize every word. Palin nodded. Yes, why? He asked, with uncertainty in his voice. She averted her eyes. Leon, can I see you outside? She asked and began to make her way to the door. They both stepped outside swiftly. Castilia slammed the door hard than needed to be. How could you? Why didn't you tell me he was once in the service of the prince? She barked out. Leon shrugged. I didn't know. Why are you so worried? I never came out and announced you're a legend, and I never mentioned Nero, the orbs, or that I am a hunter trying to find them, Leon said in a scoffed tone of voice. She was very upset. She gripped him by the collar of his shirt. Why? Listen, Leon, you and I both know why we are here, and it's not so you can blab about what's happening to you thus far. She was very angry. You fool, if the prince ever gets the slightest idea we are here, he will go to Palin first. Just because he has an honorable discharge does not mean anything. He is still on the wrong side if he or even Blaine gets the slightest thought about me being a legend. Who knows what Nero will do to tempt either of them to talk. A soldier of the prince never changes, she finished, and now let go of Leon. She stormed off and got her horse without another word directed at Leon. Leon let out a sigh and was about to trot after her when he felt a hand on his shoulder and jumped in surprise. Palin held him back and spoke in a calm voice. No, my friend, let her go. Castilia rode past him and was soon out of sight. I understand her pain. Forgive me. I opened the door to toss the dirty dishwater and overheard. So she is a legend. That figures. A whole jack of all things trade. She is right about being careful, but not around me. Do not be upset with her. Legends have great burdens to bear already. Look, you can stay here for the night. In the morning, go join her. For now, come in and rest. You're gonna need a lot of it. Leon could feel a strange, ominous feeling growing within him. He didn't like this new feeling. She had almost torn the door off Starlin's home that she had ridden to. What is it, Legend? Starlin asked. Castilia whirled around with burning anger in her eyes. What is it? I'll tell you what it is. Leon's friend was once in the prince's guard. Starlin had her full attention. Relax, Legend, Castilia. I have often visited Palin, and he won't be trouble. His heart only lives for his son. Castilia wanted to believe him, but just couldn't be comforted by the wizard's words. That's just what I'm afraid of. That's just what I am afraid of. If Nero finds out, and Nero will use either the child or threaten to kill the child, if Palin won't tell him what he needs to know. Starlin was silent. Castilia touched the wizard's arm softly and in a comforting way. I will leave tomorrow as soon as I get Leon, for no doubt the cannibal gnomes and even Rifa and Blinken will be on our trail and come here. They both went silent again at this grim news. So that is all the video for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a big like, subscribe, share with friends and family. That helps a lot. Down in the comments down below, if you like Riplin or Blaine, leave a thumbs up emoji if you liked him or not. If you are interested in wanting to know more about not only more insights into how I write the characters, create the characters, what goes into my writing process, I have a Facebook account dedicated to all things about Legends. I write about it Monday through Friday. I have all kinds of fun articles. This video is long, so I really won't get into that. But that is all the video for today. Thank you all so much for watching. And as they say in my book, may the elements protect you, and I will see you tomorrow for a new chapter. Bye-bye for now.